The postseason rages on as the Braves, the Dodgers, the Astros, and Red Sox are left in the playoffs with the same goal in mind. As ESPO and I will continue the 2021 MLB postseason coverage right here on Twitch and leading off. ESPO, of course, is going to reveal his pick of the day with the Astros-Red Sox game happening in a few moments. And once again, we're going to run back another what if, but a postseason edition, and hopefully Espo's jersey gives away a clue of what we're going to be talking about later on tonight. And our big segment, we're going to name the all-time Game 7 team in our very new lineup card, so it should be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about who would you want in that lineup for Game 7 of a championship series or World Series and on the mound for that pivotal game. Find out tonight on the 8 p.m. edition of Leading Off. And once again, we are live. This is the 27th episode of Leading Off, live from Studio 69 in New Jersey and REM Studio in Staten Island, New York, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. Welcome back to the show. It is Monday, October the 18th, 2021. Once again, on this 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time edition of the show, I'm your host, Rich Rivera, and I'm being joined by Mr. Swipe Left himself, Espo.
Wait, no, am I swiping left here? No, swipe right, swipe right. That is me. Well, thank you, Rich, for that lovely introduction. But once again, always a pleasure to be leading off with you, and I cannot believe it. We are trucking through October. We are nearly at the end of our season, but like you said, still a few teams left to go to decide who is the king of the major leagues. And man, it's been an exciting playoffs thus far.
Yeah, and we are down to the Final Four. And if you've been keeping score at home, if you remember our brackets from a couple of weeks ago of what we had predicted here, let's take a look at Espo's bracket, how he's doing. He's not doing so well. Not doing so well. Not especially since the World Series champion that he predicted have been out since the weekend. And a tough one at that. Last out of the game on a Wilmer Flores check swing that clearly looked like a check swing. Wasn't a strike, should not have been called a strike. Now, regardless of how you spin it, I'm pretty sure, I could put the house on that Max Scherzer was going to end up striking out Wilmer Flores or getting him out in that at bat. You never know, obviously. Anybody could be a hero. But you can't end the fucking series. You can't end a 100-plus win team season with that fucking call. Because that is a judgment call. And on a judgment call like that, you got to let the at-bat right out. You got to call it you got to call that a ball and hope for the best, and then we'll see what happens. You can't end the season. You can't end the team season on that.
It just feels so cheap to have the Giants season end like that. 107 wins, and it just all goes to shit with the check swing that wasn't. And they'll probably be talking about that for years until they're back and take down the Dodgers in the playoffs again. But I mean, man, it just leaves a really poor taste in your mouth because, I mean, I kind of feel for the umpire too. I mean, he did make a shitty call, but now he has to live with that, and you know they're human too. But man, it just sucks for the Giants. But
yeah, absolutely, and it was a crazy year in that National League West Division. That crown could have gone anywhere to any of those two teams.
Came down to the last day.
And it came down to the last game, the most important game between the two in Game 5 of the American League Division Series, which we both assumed was going to go 5 games. Well, maybe not you, because in your ESPO pick of the day last week, you thought the Giants were going to come for blood and finish the series in 4 games, and you were wrong once again, and the Dodgers end up winning. So that's how
I'm a mush. What can I say, Rich?
How am I doing over here? I mean, my brackets are busted with the Rays getting knocked out, the Brewers getting knocked out, so I'm not looking too pretty. But I still have a possible World Series matchup in play still. If the Astros can, come in and win some games. Obviously, the Dodgers too. The Dodgers down 2-0 in the series are ready to the Braves.
Dodgers are in trouble, man. They are in big trouble.
It's crazy what's happening in Atlanta right now. You know, the Braves missing their star player. And, fans were not expecting them to move far and not past the Brewers at the least, maybe with the exception of Braves fans. And the Braves have played exceptional ball in the postseason. They just know how to grind. They know how to get the hits at the right time. I mean, I don't know how to really explain it besides what I just said, but good on the Braves. And, if you're Atlanta, you want to take that third game and just go up 3-0 and feel comfortable and feel that you can get one more in those next four.
I am super excited for the matchup tomorrow night. Walker Buehler versus Charlie Morton. That should be a pitcher's duel for the ages. And yeah, that would certainly feel like a dagger in the hearts of the Dodgers if they go up 3-0. So definitely a huge make or break game for both teams.
100%. We got some notes on those teams in a little bit in our Ducks on the Pond. But hey, make sure to follow us on Twitter at LOF Podcast. You can follow ESPO at
The Life of ESPO.
And you can follow me at Rich J. Rivera. We appreciate your follow on Twitter. Obviously, it's been a little bit crazy with the scheduling lately. We aren't following the normal Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern time, as always. Savage in the Bronx ended there. We ended our last episode on Tuesday, our in-season episode, that is. And that show will be back next month now that we're going into off-season episodes. So now we have the luxury of kind of doing what we want here, I suppose. So we're now at 8 p.m. Eastern time on
Prime
Monday.
time,
We won't
baby.
be back here next week, but I'll get more into that in a little bit. Ducks on the Pond. We're all over the place today, but Ducks on the Pond. We'll get into injuries. You can ignore that first note on Ozzy Albies because he's clearly back. But Jorge Soler going down on the COVID IL. Luis Garcia day-to-day with a right knee strain, an injury he suffered in Game 2 against the Red Sox, and he was knocked out early in that game. And Max Muncy, who we keep mentioning in this injury report, and he's now been ruled out for the NLCS. And it's crazy with how good that Dodgers team is of they're missing that thump in Max Muncy, who is arguably their offensive MVP in the National League for 2021.
Yeah, it's a tremendous loss for them. That's honestly been understated by most of the broadcasts that I've heard of the Dodger playoff games so far. I mean, like you said, he has pretty much been their offensive MVP with injuries to a lot of other guys on the roster, especially Mookie not having his best year. But yeah, that's a huge loss for them. And if they can make it to the World Series, that would certainly feel like the piece that could put them over the top. But down 2-0, it's they're in a deep hole. I think even deeper than last year. Mm-hmm. They were down 3-1, which sure feels like more higher stakes, but Dodgers are in trouble, man.
And you have to kind of attribute it to them being beaten up by the schedule they had. Having to play out the best baseball to the end, to game 162, having to play the wild card game against the Cardinals and putting your best pitcher out on the mound, having to play the Giants and take them to the limit into San Francisco for game 5. And now you're looking at potential of on the brink of maybe being swept in your own ballpark. I mean, the Dodgers have had a tough run in these last few weeks, and it's been a tough look for them. So hopefully we can get more of a competitive series right now. Obviously, the two games have been great. Braves have edged them out in both games, but it's been a wild couple weeks for the Dodgers.
No doubt, Dodgers. They definitely blew it last night. I think Dave Roberts definitely. He seems to overmanage these games in the playoffs, and he got away with it last year, and they got the chip. But I'm not sure he's a great manager. Maybe he's just blessed with having great talent. But time will tell in the next few games.
And this kind of goes. Well, this also kind of goes back, and it's a great segue into our next bit here on Ducks on the Pond. But it kind of goes back to front office run baseball. Dave Roberts is the voice of the front office, and he is basically given the script and he's following it verbatim. And there's a lot of managers like that. Aaron Boone is one of those managers for sure. Mm-hmm. Now, one of those managers who isn't like that was just let go by the team we had just mentioned before, the St. Louis Cardinals, who went 90-72, second in the NL Central Division. Many thought they should have been first at the beginning of the year, but they had the best winning streak of the season. They fought their way into that second wild card spot. And yet Mike Shildt gets the axe, fired from the organization, and stating, John Mozeliak and Shildt had a difference in philosophy. Philosophical differences is the exact quote. So again, you have another situation where you have a manager that wants to run his own team the way he sees fit, and an organization that wants it done in a different way. So this is what's kind of led to Shilt's firing. And this is what you're seeing in baseball here, folks. There's a lot of managers who are just not getting the jobs in baseball that, they would have gotten 10 years ago because of how the game has changed.
Yeah, it was honestly surprising news when I saw that the Cardinals and Schilt, I guess you would call it parting ways, right? I mean, it wasn't a pure, or what I guess it was a pure firing, right? So yeah, it was definitely surprising to see that because of the success Schilt has had the last few years as major league manager. He's been with the organization for a very long time, but I mean, yeah, you thought like he was a guy that was going to stick around long term, but really shocking that they'd let go of such a good manager, a good organization like the Cardinals. You would think they would realize they have managerial talent in Schilt, as hard as that is to quantify, but he'll definitely find a new job somewhere else.
Yeah, and Schultz is already generating some interest. There are already some managerial openings. Managerial. Yeah, no, I said it right. Managerial openings to start the off season. There are some fans on Twitter who would love to see Schultz come to New York as the possible Mets new manager.
I'll
But
take that.
it's a different game here. Let's take a look at some of the comments here in the chat. Thank you guys for showing up. I know it's a little later than we normally have these shows, but 8
Might be
p.m.
interfering with your Monday Night Football watching
Sorry
too.
about
So
that,
sorry
but
there,
hey, I
folks.
appreciate the love anyway. Expert FME goes, please, no Braves in the series, and we'll be probably wishing for Dodgers versus Red Sox, which they certainly are.
All about the
Corey
money, baby.
Favs here. I loathe this new front office / manager dynamic. Couldn't agree more. Expert FME, the Mets will interview him, but wind up hiring some hack in regards to Mike
Wouldn't
Schultz.
surprise me.
Again, front office should control the organization. Who makes the rosters? A manager should control the players on the roster. Simple as that. And I agree. I mean, that's the way it's done, but it's not as simple anymore. I mean, early on in my days of knowing what the front office and what managerial decisions, I thought it's manager take care of the team on the field, and general manager gets the players, and the owner can fire the players. That's what I grew up on, and that's just not the case anymore. There's a lot of owners who don't like to remove people of power in the organization. Executives, it's hard. A lot of these executives stick around for a long time, even in losing seasons. They don't get fired as often.
They got to
And
clean
now
house
you
more
moved
often.
on. You were gonna say Espo? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say they organizations, they definitely hold on to guys for too long just for the sake of holding on to them. And I feel like more than half the organizations in MLB should clean house with a lot of their scouting departments, because I mean, I just don't know what a lot of these teams are doing. I mean, I don't want to harp on one team especially, but the Rockies just have absolutely no direction at all, and their ownership, it's just bad for the game. They just don't have any players that want to stay there long term.
And that's an organization has had a turnover in their front office in 2021. So it'll be interesting to see the direction the Rockies go in, but I don't expect them to go in much of a direction. So we end our Ducks in the Pond note with another front office change, because that's just been the news here when it comes to baseball outside what's happening with the playoffs. The Chicago Cubs naming Carter Hawkins as their general manager. Hawkins was the previous assistant GM for the Cleveland Indians in the opposing front office during their 2016 World Series clash, which saw the Cubs obviously end their long years of losing to finally achieve greatness. But the Cleveland Indians now, I believe, out of everybody in baseball, have gone the longest without winning their last World Series. I think since 1941, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was going to say 1941 or 48. I'm definitely confident it was sometime in the 1940s. In either case, it's a terribly long slump for them. Almost got it in 2016, but you still have the Cavaliers win it that year, so don't get too greedy, Cleveland fans. But yeah, I mean they're an organization that really surprising in the last few years has fallen off the radar. They really had domination of that division for so long, but seems like it's the White Sox now. But yeah, back to the Cubs though. I think it's a good hire for them, and I'm very interested to see what they do this offseason, because they did trade a lot of guys away, but they're always a big market player with money to spend. So we'll see what the Cubs do.
And that's a good point you made. And Jed Hoyer had came out, the general manager, the president of baseball operations, that is, of the Chicago Cubs, had come out and said that the Cubs are going to be very active in this free agency. They were quoted to say they're going to spend money wisely, which I think that should be the notion of every organization in baseball. But they are going to be active in the free agent market this year. You mentioned they have money to spend. They lost a lot of guys in that trade deadline, so they have some roles to fill. But hell, if you're a Cubs fan with what you have in your farm and how the team played with some of the scabs that filled in, like the Frank Schwindels of the world and the Patrick Wisdoms and the Rafael Ortegas,
right.
you're pretty excited because the Cubs actually played some decent ball after they moved on from Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant, but obviously they weren't talked about. They were seller at the deadline. So hopefully this new general manager, Hawkins, comes in, he shakes things up, makes those smart signings that he was talking about, and we will see what happens in Chicago and in Wrigleyville with the Cubs. It'll be interesting to see where they're going, but you can tell how what they had to trade for to get that World Series title in 2016. But you can ask any Cub fan, it was well worth it. And if it comes down to it and they have to reshake and rebuild, which is what they're doing, then that's what they have to do in 2021 and beyond. All right. Moving on from Ducks on the Pond, just want to remind you that we are on YouTube, so make sure to share, like, and subscribe. We got some short clips, we got some full episodes, and we'll have more videos uploaded as we move along. But it's now time for the ESPO pick of the day. ESPO, take it away, my man, and let's see if you're lucky tonight.
Rich, if my track record is any indication, then I will be having luck. Bad luck, that is. But at any rate, my ESPO TD is a long shot. It is Alex Bregman to hit a home run tonight in Game 3 of the ALCS, Astros versus Red Sox. He has pretty good career numbers against the starting pitcher, Jose Urquidy. I don't know. I hope I pronounced it right. Urquidy. I don't want to botch it, so we'll just call him Jose U for now. In either case, Bregman's due, man. He hasn't hit one all postseason, and he's had a good average. He's been getting on base, so why not? Let's go, Bregman. It was plus 500 odds on DraftKings when I took it just before the show, and as fate would have it, he's actually at bat right now.
Well, I actually was just looking, and he just made out in his first at bat here.
Yeah,
unfortunately, and yes, Bregman batting third for the Astros tonight against the Red Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez, who is on the mound, lefty-righty matchup, and favorable matchup for a guy like Bregman. And with the Red Sox will be coming up to bat here in the bottom of the first inning. Series tied at 1-1. And that's your ESPO pick of the day. Bregman going deep.
A good start.
Not looking good. Not looking good so far, but long game. So let's see if ESPO is wrong again. All right, make sure to subscribe to us on Twitch if you haven't already. Subscribe to us, the Leading Off _podcast, and direct link to that is in our Twitter bio, which of course I mentioned before. You can follow us at LOF Podcast. And the reason why I mentioned this is because if you download the Twitch app onto your phone, Android or iOS, you'll get a notification letting you know when we go live. And obviously with the schedule being as hectic as it's been, like I've said, we're on tonight at 8 p.m. We're not going to be on next week. We'll be on again in 2 weeks, again at 8 p.m. on Monday. So the schedule's kind of all over the place. Plus, we have some off-season episodes that we need to schedule. The easiest way to keep track of it, besides following us on Twitter and me letting you know, or ESPO letting you know of when we're going to be on, is to follow us and subscribe to us on Twitch, because then you'll get the notification when we go live. And that's
put your phone to work for you.
Exactly. And that's what Extra FME did, and that's what Corey Faz did. And we thank you guys so much for being a part of our show and being our chooches in the chat. So let's move it along. You love that, right? I suppose chooches in the chat, right?
We should get that trending on Twitter someday.
I agree, man. I'm with it. Chooches in the chat. We have a similar thing also with Savage in the Bronx, but it's part of the universe, part of the Twitch podcast baseball universe.
The Choochverse, if you will.
The Choochverse, if you will. Right. I like that. All right. Our main segment tonight is lineup card. It's been a while since we've done this, ESPO. Lineup card is simple. We're going to go through position to position, take a topic, and pick a team, a great team, around this topic. We've done the best swag team this year, where we picked the coolest looking players, who were the flashiest, and that had like Brandon Phillips on it, and I believe Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith
Ozzie
was a
Smith,
shortstop.
the Wizard of Oz.
Phenomenal. Ricky Henderson, like those
Oscar
kind of guys.
Gamble, honorable mention, of course.
We predicted the All-Star game rosters this year with lineup card. We did a what else did we do? We did a few of them, and I can't recall any of them, and that sounds really unprofessional. But we're doing another one tonight, folks.
Long day.
Postseason edition. We are doing the MLB All-Time Game 7 Postseason Team. Real simple stuff, folks. What we're doing here is we're going to go position to position, starting pitcher, closer included, and put together your best possible Game 7 lineup. Who would you want in there in a winner-take-all game? And I'm taking all-time players from any different era. Obviously, you can base it off of a couple of years in the postseason. We tried to put guys together that have been in the postseason for a while and really have accumulated great stats as well. But guys who you want in there that are going to be clutch, going to come up for you, bases loaded, and you need the big hit. So this is what it's going to be made up of. So Game 7, all-time team for our lineup card tonight, Espo. And we're going to go position to position. So we're going to start it off with the catching position. And if you don't mind, Espo, I'll get us started here.
Please
the catcher is going to be Yogi Berra.
Oh,
Berra is our catcher. And honestly, the easiest way to fucking separate him from everybody else is the rings. 10 World Series rings. Most winningest catcher, I think player too, of all time when it comes to World Series championships of all time. So Yogi Berra's in there, left-handed bat.
Easy choice.
Going to lead a great pitching staff. Hell, he led Don Larson to throw a perfect game. Who knows? Maybe our pitcher's going to throw a perfect game with Yogi behind the plate.
Maybe. Who knows? 10 rings, though. There's really no debate with Yogi at the catcher position.
All right. Espo, who do we have at first?
At first base, we have a legend, a guy who's still playing, actually, and that is Fat Albert Pujols. We're gonna say this is his Cardinals era Albert Pujols, though, because the Dodgers era Albert Pujols that I saw last night pinch hitting was not a pretty sight. But I digress. Of course, Albert Pujols, he won 2 titles with the Cards, and year in, year out, you knew the Cards were going to be making deep playoff runs. They didn't necessarily win it every year, but he was the most clutch hitter of his generation. And the playoff stats definitely back that up. He's had so many clutch moments, but I think the moment I remember the most is that one home run he had in Houston in, I think, the 2005 NLCS.
Oh, yes.
Brad Lidge in the 9th inning, and he just absolutely murdered the ball, and he hit it to the back wall of the stadium, and it was perfect.
Yes, that was one of my earliest, I really like this guy. Albert Pujols moments as a kid. Houston. That was an Astros team that I really liked too. The Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio,
Back when the
Bergman,
Astros
Roy
were like
Oswalt, Morgan Ensberg Astros. Those are the best Astros. But speaking of Astros, our second baseman, as it pains me to say it, but I'm unbiased, it's unbiased journalism here, is going to be Jose Altuve. Altuve is going to be our all-time second baseman there. And, you want to throw an asterisk on it. You want to throw 2017 in his face. You want to throw potential buzzers in his face. So be it. If we're including that as a package, I'll take that Altuve at second base. And it was a tough choice because, Chase Utley's had a great playoff pedigree. And Daniel Murphy, of course, the Met fans delight. Daniel Murphy was great for that. But there weren't really outstanding, you need this guy at second base for your team. Altuve's the guy for me. I'm picking here, Espo.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it pains you as a Yankee fan to admit that Altuve is the second baseman of choice here, the numbers would definitely back up that argument. He's got 20 home runs in his postseason. I'm sorry, no, I was reading the wrong stat. No, yes, I was. I was looking at the next player. My apologies. Altuve does have 20 home runs in his postseason career, which of course is up there all time. And he's clutch, man. He just always knows how to deliver. And obviously, I'm going to twist the knife in your heart here, Rich, but that home run he hit off Araldis in the ALCS, that was an all-time clutch moment. So Altuve, he's definitely an easy choice for my Game 7 lineup.
Yeah, it's a shame he didn't buzz that pitch by him in that at bat. But yes, Altuve, 20 home runs in his postseason career. Again, trying to stick with a postseason player. It'd be easy to grab guys that had a lot of great regular season moments, but I want to try to get guys together that are playoff, have a great playoff pedigree, and are clutch. And Altuve's my man there. Who do we have
Oh,
at
yeah.
third base, though, Espo?
Third base was I know a bit of an interesting choice when you first heard that. Certainly not a very popular player by historical standards in terms of some of the other guys on this list, but I got George Brett at third base. He had a lot of great years with the Royals. Of course, they won the chip back in '85 against the Cardinals, and he hit 337 for his playoff career across 43 games, which is really incredible. And of course, he won several batting titles in the regular season in his long, prestigious career with the Royals, but he really stepped up when it mattered most.
10 home runs for Brett in his postseason career. And a great pick there. I can't go wrong with a Hall of Famer. I know like Chipper Jones was up for discussion as well. Obviously Met fans love Chipper Jones. They love Larry.
Bit of a Yankee killer in the '70s playoffs.
Bit of a Yankee killer. Also has great experience in the postseason. I saw like Troy Gloss was another one, but he only had that one run with the Angels, so I didn't really want to go with him.
Troy Gloss, that's a throwback name.
That is a throwback name. Shortstop.
I know you want this one, Richard.
Oh, I'm gonna take this one. It's Derek Jeter. Jeter is my guy.
Surprised, really?
I know, right? It's crazy.
No,
Derek
this is a good
Jeter.
choice.
I'll tell you what. As much as I try to be unbiased and not try to pick Yankees, I'm sorry, but the Yankees have been in the fucking majority of postseason games that's ever existed. It's
5
hard
rings,
not to
man.
pick them.
5 rings. Can't argue with that.
Yankees here, but and there's not a lot. There's like out of everybody we have, I think there's 4. Yeah, 4, which is maybe a lot by that standard, but it is what it is. So Jeter joins Yogi Berra on our lineup card here, and he's at shortstop.
Dude, I'm looking at this guy's postseason batting season by season, and it is a long list to scroll down. You got from '96 all the way to 2012 with 5 rings in between. Jeter is perhaps one of the best selections on this list out of anyone, and even as a Mets fan, that's very easy for me to admit.
All right, outfield here, Espo. Do you want to take this entire outfield down?
Angels in the outfield, except there are none of them in here.
No.
We're going to start it off with Manny Ramirez out in left field. He had many great postseason runs for the Red Sox. He's got the hardware to prove it. That 2004 Red Sox chip. I know you were quite fond of his performance there, and he delivered in 2007 with the Sox, of course. But man, him and another guy we'll get to on this list really formed one of the most deadly duos in postseason history. More on him later. I'm sure you all know who it is going to be. But that 1-2 punch is as good as any you'll ever see in postseason history. And Manny's stats are definitely really incredible as well.
And he's the cover athlete of the greatest MLB video game of all time. Espo, continue here. Who do you have in center and right field?
Center field, we're going to go with a man who's certainly got some. Sorry, I had something in my eye.
Oh God.
I'm good.
Are you crying?
No.
Are you getting emotional that the baseball year is
Carlos Beltran? I hate you so much. But
all right,
he's our pick for center field. He's got the stats to back it up, but man, Rich, you know I hate this pick, but
I know you do, but like I had to go with Beltran there.
Right.
Beltran was I think he had single-handedly one of the best postseason runs with the Houston Astros prior to his Mets days. And yes, the strikeout is a tough pill to swallow, but I can't argue with the guy's pedigree. He's a clutch performer. He did great with the Cardinals in their run in 2011. I gotta go. I felt right with putting Beltran in there. So Beltran's our center fielder.
He was solid in that 2006 run for the Mets for the most part, except that one moment which we will not mention because it's already seared into my brain forever. But he even had a good run with the Cardinals a couple of years in his later years, which quite ironic that he went to the very team that killed my hopes and dreams. But that's neither here nor there.
Yep.
In right field, though. Right field. This man, George Herman Ruth, otherwise known as the Babe. We gotta go way back to think about the Babe's performance in the playoffs, but he was in a league of his own. Man, I think you're more equipped to speak to the Babe's greatness, though.
I mean, the Babe allegedly called his shot during the playoffs and hit a home run in Chicago. I mean, that's already a good
What was that
start. But
1932 or 23 or 32?
I thought that was 23, but I could be wrong.
Long time ago in either
It
case.
was black and white.
I'm pulling
But,
up I'm rolling the tape here. 326 average, 15 long balls, 1.214 OPS. I mean, that's just incredible.
yeah, and having him in there in that outfield is big. And listen, if it wasn't for the next guy that I'm about to talk about at DH, I think Babe Ruth would definitely be our designated hitter here.
Mhm.
But he's not, because our designated hitter is single-handedly one of the best offensive players in postseason history. It's David Ortiz. And when we came up with this concept of doing this lineup card, David Ortiz was the first fucking person to come to mind. Not Jeter, not anybody else I mentioned on this list. It was a Boston Red Sox. It was David Ortiz, because just remembering how many bad fucking memories I've had watching David Ortiz tee off on Yankee pitching. But he's been such a great clutch performer. Always come through when it matters most. I remember the home run, the grand slam he hit against Joaquin Benoit and the Tigers, hitting the grand slam to
and the
tie
cop
the
jumping
yeah.
up and down. I remember
right.
that.
The weird that cop who did that, which was awesome in its own right. But David Ortiz is my guy to be the designated hitter there. Now, who's on the mound to start this game?
On the mound is another man who has produced painful memories for me as a Mets fan in terms of playoff memories, but got to go with Madison Bumgarner here. He had the most incredible single postseason run of all time in 2014 as he led the Giants to their third title in as many in 5 years with their win over the Royals. But man, that run he had in the World Series, he pitched 21 innings and had a .043 ERA, and he was just relied upon in almost every single game, and he closed out Game 7 for them. It was a performance for the ages. And even the wild card game as well in 2016, he shut out my Mets real good. So he's the guy I'd want on the mound without a question.
Yeah, you got to go with those early day Bumgarners, those giant Bumgarner on the mound there. And it was another tough one. And, Sandy Koufax regarded as one of the best postseason pitchers of all time. And Andy Pettitte, who's had a great pedigree in the playoffs as well. Cliff Lee, who is always a great performer in the playoffs. You mentioned a good one as well when we were trying to figure out the starting pitcher for this team.
Justin Verlander as well. He's at that. Was that anyone else I mentioned, or were we thinking?
No, that was it. Yeah, Justin Verlander.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned a couple
Kurt
other guys.
Schilling's another one.
Schilling was a great one.
So yeah, great starting pitchers. We could have
definitely. Cole.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about that. All right, and closing it out. This was obviously a no-brainer. It has to
easy
be
pick.
Mariano.
Couple of no-brainers.
Don't really have to get into much on that. Mariano Rivera closing it out. And I do see a team here. Corey Fabs, thank you very much, bud, for submitting yours. For a Game 7 lineup, Corey would put together Yadi Molina behind the plate, Miguel Cabrera at first, Pete Rose at second. I actually didn't know. Did Pete Rose had second base eligibility?
He played all around the infield.
Well, Derek Jeter at shortstop, Mike Schmidt at third, Barry Bonds in left field, Mickey Mantle in center, Mookie Betts in right field, David Ortiz DHing. On the mound, he has Jacob deGrom. Wow.
I love it.
And
hey, he hasn't pitched.
Mariano the bullpen. I guess there really wasn't no rule to pick guys who don't have as many postseason experience. But hey, Jacob deGrom.
He does have some success against the Dodgers and the Cubs back in that 2015 run. So very, very good pick there, Corey.
There you go. And Tom Waspel, welcome back to the chat here, bud. I think Tom's not happy that he doesn't have a show after this, which is unfortunate for Tom. Fair for Babe Ruth, but Reggie Jackson is literally Mr. October. And when it came down to the outfield, Reggie Jackson was definitely discussed in like the final guys we were going to pick. At the end of the day, I think we wanted to keep it to position to position. We didn't want to try to figure out, Reggie is mainly a right fielder, so we're going to move him to left field. So we stuck with a primary left field, center field, and right fielder. But yes, Reggie Jackson's a great shoo-in for honorable mention. Any other honorable mentions, Espo, that we should?
Gotta give a shout out to my boy Kenny Lofton.
All right,
some pretty good runs with the Indians, or many steals for that matter. Obviously, one of the great Gold Glove center fielders. So showing some love to Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny Lofton's a good, definitely a good guy to have on your bench. Steal a few bags. I like that for this team as well. Maybe down the line when we do this again, what we should probably do is we should probably pick a player from one single postseason series for each
Right.
position, and that would make things really interesting to see who would you literally have at their very best in the playoffs ever.
The best of the best. That
The
might
best
have
of
to
the
be
best.
something worth exploring, or maybe even players that never even got good postseason runs. And that roster would, of course, be led by Mike Trout. But
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
we
I
got
like
to
that.
see him in October someday, man. It's a real shame. Him
Well,
and
I know
Otani both.
I think they had didn't the Angels crack the playoffs in 2015, I think?
2014 or 2015
Something
or
like that.
one of
And they
those
got
years. And they
bounced,
got
but I think they
swept by
got
the
bounced
Royals.
by Baltimore or Kansas City.
Right.
It was one
Yeah.
of those.
And they haven't done shit since.
Nope. Haven't done shit since. Alrighty, well, Tom's here, so I can promote Savages in the Bronx, which isn't live after our show tonight for the first time in like ever. But our next episode of Savages in the Bronx won't be until Monday, November the 15th, 2021. And that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So our regular time slot, which we normally have Savages in the Bronx for. And that's going to be our first off-season episode. So we'll get to, get into the Yankees and obviously, that's what the show's about. But we'll get into what moves they're looking to make during this coming off season, coming off season, and we kind of just play general manager, and plus we'll be around award season, so hopefully there'll be a couple of some hardware given out to some of these Yankee players that we can commemorate on the show, and that's going to be again November the 15th. So that will be the next Savages in the Bronx episode. Make sure to give us a follow though at Savages Bronx. What you say?
I cut you off a little bit there. I'm sorry, but I meant to say spread on the news for Savages in the Bronx, folks, because now I'm from New York.
Have you watched Many Saints in New York yet? I feel like you have. You're a big Sopranos guy.
And quite frankly, if I may be honest, I was a little disappointed.
I heard. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard there was a lot of disappointment. There was a lot of hype for the movie.
Maybe my standards were too high, but yeah, I just felt like they tried to do too much, and I felt like it would have been better as a mini series of maybe 5 or 6 episodes. I felt like they could have told a better story with that, but it was still entertaining. But I just it fell a little short of the hype, I think.
Whose portrayal did you appreciate the most in the movie?
Well, there were a lot of good ones, a lot of bad ones too, but I would have to say I liked the portrayal of Junior Soprano. I think Corey Stoll is the actor, and he had the trademark glasses, and he was saying some of Junior's favorite sayings, which some are too vulgar even for this show, which is quite rare. But you never had the makings of a varsity athlete.
Yeah, and I think that when I wanted to see this movie, and I hadn't had a chance to, I wanted to see, young Junior. And obviously you kind of had a glimpse of Junior when he was kind of still all there in the series. And then you see his regression to, basically being, in the mental home or the old, old person's home. So yeah, as well. It's not baseball talk at all.
Hey, man, it's quality content, and that's what we do.
Exactly. We lost a few viewers, but that's okay. We're going to get back with our final segment of the night. It's the MLB What If. Unfortunately for Marvel fans, the What If season 1 had ended about a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to keep things going with our scenarios if baseball history was changed with one swing of the bat or one strikeout. And it's crazy, to think of some of the implications that have happened over the years if moments had changed. We talked about on the show, what if Alex Rodriguez did get traded to the Boston Red Sox? If he didn't, or if Aaron Boone didn't get hurt playing basketball, A-Rod probably wouldn't have been a Yankee. We've talked about it. Dwayne Sanchez didn't get into that taxi cab in 2006 and the implications that led to, and it possibly would have been a Mets World Series championship. But today we stick with postseason and we go to a moment that the Yankees were involved with. And it was not a great moment for the Yankees. It was a great moment for the team that's represented on ESPO's chest there, the Seattle Mariners. So tonight, Our MLB What If is what if the New York Yankees defeated the Seattle Mariners in Game 5 of the 1995 American League Division Series. And to kind of catch you up to speed, if you don't know already on what had happened in 1995, well, we go back to this moment right here. Ken Griffey being dogpiled by his team, scoring on a game-winning hit from Edgar Martinez. Edgar Martinez, he was a Hall of Famer, right? Did Martinez make the Hall of Fame? I don't know. But
I believe he did.
I think he did too, but whatever. Martinez knocks in Griffey. Griffey scores. Mariners win the game. There's more implications, though, if the Mariners aren't able to win this ball game, because in 1995, there was a lot of talks that the stadium that they were currently playing, that they were playing at the time, was going to get demolished, and they would need to figure out stadium plans. And certainly, a few years later, there goes the Kingdome. The Kingdome was demolished after the fact anyway, so the Kingdome was gone regardless of what was going to happen to this game. But the biggest implication that was coming out of this series, Espo, was the franchise itself. You see, if the Mariners had to figure out what was the plans with their future stadium and location by October 30, 1995, which obviously was a few weeks after this game was played in Seattle. Mariners don't win this game, essentially, and the Mariners had been a horrible team for many years. They hadn't made the playoffs since the 70s, when it was like right after inception. And the Mariners needed to win this game and give themselves a reason to have Seattle baseball. So that's your implication for Seattle. Now, for the Yankees obviously had their postseason skid, in the 80s into the early 90s. You had two guys at the helm that were on their way out. Buck Showalter managing the team, Don Mattingly, their star player. And obviously, Yankees number 23 retired. A huge part of the Yankees legacy. One of the greatest first basemen all time to don the pinstripes. Don, kind of like that.
Donnie Baseball, baby.
But Donnie Baseball was on his way out. He was looking for a ring. And Buck Showalter, again, at the helm. This is right before the Joe Torre years. So now, let's go back to 1995. Yankees close it out. They win. What happens here? A lot might happen here now. I think Seattle baseball is done.
Right.
I think the stadium, obviously, Kingdom's blown up anyways. So it doesn't fucking matter. But the Mariners baseball is potentially done. They're being sold off, and I don't know what franchise is going to take over that spot here. And maybe you can kind of jump in, because I know you were looking into the possible expansion.
Yeah, I mean, the implications of this would have been massive, because there was potential for the Mariners to relocate to Tampa if Seattle didn't work out for them. And you can kind of think of what the implications would that be even further down the road. We wouldn't have seen the expansion Devil Rays come into play and all their years of, futility before they started becoming good and eventually became the Rays. But I mean, there's just so many different directions of how things really could have changed for the Mariners. I mean, we would have maybe never seen Ichiro come to Seattle and have the career he did.
Oh yeah.
King Felix, he had a illustrious career for the Mariners as well. He might have never had that perfect game. So a lot of great baseball memories and stars over the past over this century might not have happened if not for the Yankees and Mariners having that series.
Yeah, and the franchise is sold. I don't know where these guys are headed, and that's the one thing I can't really predict with this team. Or what was going to happen. You mentioned the expansion teams. Yeah, maybe Seattle would have became what Tampa is now. And maybe Ken Griffey Jr. could have been what the Arizona Diamondbacks star. Mariners franchise could have just been, all right, let's move everybody over to Arizona. Diamondbacks don't have their 2001 World Series, or maybe they will with an even better team. Who knows with Ken Griffey at the helm. But the Ichiro thing is a big deal.
Maybe he stays in Seattle for good and never goes off to Cincinnati and starts getting hurt. I mean, who the hell knows? The
Ichiro thing is a big deal too.
Right.
The Japanese market was a hot one. Obviously, Hideo Nomo was a big signing for the Dodgers. And one team that was really looking for a real star coming in overseas, they got him 2 years later in Hideki Matsui. But Yankee fans might have seen Ichiro Suzuki in pinstripes earlier than 2012 is when they saw him, 2013.
Imagine him in his prime. Oof, that would have been incredible. But I mean, I love playing this what if game because we could just think of so many things that could happen. But
Too much.
One more thing I do have to mention, Rich,
Mhm.
because it's on my mind. What if the Mariners folded, and what if Brody Van Wagenen never traded Jared Kelenic to the Mariners? Cano and Diaz. Oh, it pains me every day, Rich. Had to say
It's a
it.
lot, and that I can. When it comes down to it, these moments in baseball always have a ripple effect throughout the game, and that's what we learn with these what if segments. There's always a ripple. You know, if one trade was executed, if one walk off win doesn't happen, if somebody was able to close out a game, there are just ripple effects through time.
Buckner
And
makes the play.
yeah, yeah,
If
yeah,
if Mo retires Luis Gonzalez, I mean,
right.
if Dave Roberts doesn't get the steal, who knows? You know,
It's
it's
incredible,
really
and
incredible.
we can go on all day about all of them, which we will, because it has been a fun segment to do so far, and we're gonna keep it going with some more what ifs as we get into the off season. But we're gonna get this show all wrapped up as we move on, and this has been a fun show. Got a good what if in there. Obviously another ESPO pick of the day. Alex Bregman going deep is ESPO's pick here. I guess it
Been
makes
rough
sense.
so
Alex picking
far,
an
but
Alex.
still got time. Still got time.
And the lineup card, which was fun. If you missed the lineup card, I actually forgot to show you this baby. It's our lineup. That game
He's a
7
beaut.
team lineup. If you are just joining us now, Jeter leading off, Carlos Beltran, Babe Ruth, Pujols, David Ortiz, Manny, George Brett, Jose Altuve, Yogi Berra, Bumgarner on the bump, and Mariano in the bullpen. A solid game 7 team.
How's that for a 3-4-5? Ruth, Ortiz, Pujols.
I mean, God, look at that matchup nightmare
Yeah.
too. Right,
Good
switch,
luck.
left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Oh my God. That is a matchup
I'm
nightmare.
betting the over on this team.
And you got to have Poppy and Manny next to each other. You just have to.
The Bash brothers.
It wouldn't be right without them. But yes, great show tonight. And, unfortunately, our in-season episodes are coming down to the wire here. And if you saw our post on Twitter earlier, kind of just give you an idea what the schedule's looking like. Obviously, tonight was episode number 27. Next week, there is no live episode of Leading Off. We're taking another week off. Well, I'll be taking another week off. I'll be in Disney, so that'll be fun. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be back. So in 2 weeks, on November the 1st. So by that point, we'll be in the middle of the World Series. And that will be our return episode, our next in-season episode of Leading Off, if you will. And that is our schedule. But of course, like I always mention, the easiest way to know is to follow us on Twitter and to subscribe to us on Twitch. Make sure you get it done so you're on top of everything, like the few guests that we have in our chat today. And with that said, Espo, we'll put a knot on this thing. Thank you once again, everybody, for your support and for joining us once again. Corey Favs, Expert FME, Tom Waspel. Thank you guys for your participation in the chat as always. Des Dutch, I just saw you in there.
Represent.
Notifications are key. That's a huge statement there from Des Dutch. Very
key.
nice. And Espo, thank you once again. As obviously, you're always a good sport. You hang with the punches. You gotta love it. And thanks again to all our supporters. Gotta thank my family, my friends, everybody who has been tuned into the show since March. And we're coming down to the wire on the in-season episodes. We got some off-season episodes happening. We'll keep you guys posted. But until then, we'll see you here in 2 weeks' time, Monday, November the 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Twitch. Take care.